Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2019 and the third part of this transfer embargo experiment, where today we are going to go right to the end of the transfer embargo. So when we left off last time, we'd gone about 10 years into the future. Most of the existing players are starting to drop out the game. You can see Lukaku, the only recognised player in the top goal scorers in the Premier League. Martial still in there, Lewis Cook in there. Some younger players at the start of this game now getting to the end of their career. And you can see Arsenal won the latest Premier League, but Middlesbrough up there. Blackburn have done well recently, but it's still the big teams dominating the Premier League at the moment. Liverpool, United, City, and most recently Arsenal managing to take the title, which is quite surprising really. You can see Eddie and Nikita at the top, Reece Nelson, their existing players. Jamie Kelly though, a new regen, and if we just look at the attribute details for him, you can see he's got a potential ability of 183. He's already achieved that, so he's a world-class centre-back. Guendouzi is a really good player now. Smith Rowe, Lucas Torreira, Alex Iwobi, and that's the thing, Arsenal are doing well now with established players, established wonder kids that they have in their squad who've been given the chances to really play for them, develop and do well. And now they are Premier League champions. So we're just going to jump straight ahead. I'm going to try and keep this video reasonably length. One thing I will do though, which I forgot to do last time, is have a look at the England national team and the World Cup, not the New England Revolution. Very close, but very different. And here you can see the England national team. If we have a look at their senior squad, Phil Foden at the top, Jadon Sancho, Rashford, Nikita, Jamal Yard, a new regen in here, plays as a striker. He's got 12 goals in 24 games, and we can see that he has got 172 as his ability. It's not fantastic, that. I mean, it's quite good, but it's not brilliant. Then you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jamie Kelly, Joe Gomez, Declan Rice, Dele Alli still in there, Lewis Cook, Raheem Sterling still in there. So there's not actually that many regens in the England team, which will have a bit of an impact. Now, going back to the start of this, and then into the next year, you can see in the qualifiers they did well, winning almost every game, and in the European Championship made it through, beat Scotland, Georgia, Bosnia, that's a very easy group, and then beat Turkey 1-0 before losing to Holland in the quarterfinals. A 93rd minute Quincy Promes winner for Holland, a little bit of a sucker punch there. But then in the World Cup qualifiers, I mean, they got to the International League semi-finals. We were beaten there by Spain, then lost to France as well, 2-1, despite Ben Chilwell's goal. So a disappointing time in the International League. We're all familiar with that. World Cup qualifiers went well though, and then in the World Cup, managed to beat Costa Rica, Japan, and then lose to Portugal 1-0. Cristiano Ronaldo still going in 2022. They beat Spain on penalties, despite Declan Rice being sent off, and then Spain getting a goal. Ivory Coast, they beat 1-0 in the quarterfinals, beat Croatia 1-0 in a World Cup semi-final. How much we would have liked to see that last year. But in the final, beaten 1-0 by a 94th minute Antonio Carlos goal. How many late goals have we seen in these England matches? But the European Championship qualifiers going well. But the Championship itself not going that well, losing to Italy 1-0. Eddie Salcedo with the goal. And then in the International League, they did actually win it. They beat France 1-0 in the semi-finals and then beat Italy 3-2. Harry Kane with what turned out to be the winning goal in the 36th minute. World Cup qualifiers going well again, and then in the World Cup, you can see made it through their group with Uruguay and China in there. Then they got into the second round, different kind of group stage here. I guess this is the expanded team. Australia, Switzerland both beaten. Beat Germany 3-1 in the quarterfinals, but lost to Brazil in the semi-finals. Again, a 94th minute goal last time, 93rd minute goal this time. Brazil beating us and then losing 2-1 in extra time to Portugal in the third place playoff. And now we're up to the most recent one, where we have made it into the next round against Ireland in the European Championship. So still some work to do. They have at least won a major competition. I will just show the European Championship past winners. You can see Croatia, Holland have won the last two, Italy and Poland in the finals. And then looking at the World Cup as well, if we just jump into that and look at the past winners. I think they're both Brazil. Yeah, Brazil have won the last two, including over England, and that actually was held in Qatar. That one wasn't moved, which is unusual. It almost always moves. And actually, my European Journeyman series at the moment, it has, not my European, my Global Journeyman at the moment, it has been moved from Qatar, even though I'm Qatar manager, which is a little bit disappointing. But there you go. Qatar did host that World Cup and England made the final, so maybe we don't want them to move it in real life. But what we're going to do now is jump to the end of the transfer embargo. We will then take a look at how the big teams have done, and next time we will see if the big clubs can come back if they've fallen down the table. So when we left off, Arsenal had won the most recent Premier League. The next year, Man United won it, but only on 8 goals ahead of Blackburn. Aston Villa and Middlesbrough making up the next of the Champions League places. Liverpool City, but then West Brom up there as well. Swansea, Southampton and Watford all getting relegated. But then Middlesbrough finally break the hold that the big teams have had in the Premier League, winning it by 4 points over Blackburn. United and Arsenal, then Liverpool and Man City finishing down in 8th place now. Blackburn winning the title again, 7 points over Middlesbrough. No big surprise. Chelsea and Man City, they're very close to relegation actually. That is a bit of a shock. Blackburn did win the next title. That's 3 in a row for them. Middlesbrough very close to it. Chelsea very close to being relegated. 1 goal from being relegated, Chelsea. The next year, Everton finished bottom, but Chelsea again surviving for another season. But the big teams are now in the bottom half, except for Manchester United, who are clinging on at the top as Blackburn take another title. Middlesbrough have come through to take this one, winning it on points ahead of Derby, who've come out of nowhere to put on a title challenge. Blackburn in 3rd, United still holding the top end, but Chelsea finishing bottom with 19 points. It'll be interesting to see how far they drop. The following year, Blackburn taking the title. Always these close finishes on goal difference. What a way to settle a title. Spurs then relegated on 30 points as Middlesbrough take the title by 1 point. We do have a much more competitive title race, it seems, at the moment. And the next year, Blackburn winning it 3 points clear of Middlesbrough. Man City getting close to that drop at the bottom. Spurs relegated again after coming back up. No sign of Chelsea at the moment as Blackburn take another title. Man City finally relegated, the absolute behemoths of English football in terms of spending power. Without that spending ability, they've been relegated with 11 years of the embargo still to go. Blackburn won the next title though. Spurs yo-yoing all over the place. Man City did come back but went straight back down as Blackburn take yet another title. Arsenal relegated this time. Spurs sent back down. Arsenal and Man City both get relegated in the same season the next year. I forgot to check the title winners. It's just Blackburn every time. Norwich coming through to win a title. 2 points clear of Middlesbrough in there. Liverpool close to the drop now. Man United dropping down. So there is none of the established teams in the top 10 of the Premier League at this point. As Borough take another one. West Ham and Southampton going down. United and Arsenal very close to the drop. Liverpool back in the top 10. And finally United relegated from the Premier League. 1 point behind Luton, and Arsenal rock bottom on 13 points. Liverpool, the only remaining member of the big teams still in the Premier League. They are still going. Chelsea, Man City sent straight back down. Liverpool still in mid-table as Borough take the titles. Man United managed to get back up and stay up. And in the most recent season, Man City sent straight back down, and Liverpool and United very close to the drop. Liverpool, the only team to have held on the entire time, which is a little bit of a surprise, given that all the other big teams did get relegated. Liverpool have held on with the likes of Pedro Nunes leading the line for them. He's got very good stats there. He was picked up from Gil Vicente, presumably in a youth intake. And then after a couple of seasons out on loan, he did brilliant at Sheffield Wednesday out on loan, came into the Premier League and has done very well for them since, helping keep them up really. A few other good players in there, but the team is quite thin in terms of squad depth. That's the issue. Man United also struggling a little bit. They've got a few headline big name players, but otherwise they seem to just be struggling, and they've had players going out on loan. Just wondering if there's been any big transfers going out. Bristol City signing some players. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's too much transfer activity. United will be able to hold on to those players until they get relegated. City, though, have had some trouble. They've still got a decent team, though. They've almost got better strength in depth, which is maybe why they keep coming back up. But they aren't able to stay up, and that's their big problem. Now, if we drop down to the Championship, I'm not going to go through every single season. Instead, I'm just going to look at the tables as they are now. You can see Luton winning this one, Arsenal in 5th. Fulham down here, West Ham, Brighton, Spurs in 13th, Chelsea so close to relegation again there in 20th. If we just have a look at their overview and see if they did drop down at any point. No, they've only been down for a season, so they have survived for another year. But they are very close to that drop. Now, dropping down to League One and looking at this table, just looking for any of the former Premier League teams. Watford are down here, Leicester in 19th down here. I assume they have been down another league at some point. If we just look at their team, no, they've just been promoted from League Two. That's happened twice that they've been relegated to League Two, but they have just come back and survived in League One. And then dropping down to League Two, are there any Premier League teams down here? You can see Wolves just got promoted back from it. Bournemouth are still down here. Newcastle and Palace down here as well, near the bottom as well. Hopefully Newcastle can climb back up reasonably soon. In the National League, who have we got down here? Burnley down in the National League. They've had a huge fall from the heady heights of their Premier League days, and they might really struggle to get back up, so we'll keep an eye on Burnley. In the National League North, I'd be surprised if anybody dropped quite this far. There's nobody in the North. And then just looking at the South, anybody in here? No, nobody in there. So I think that is all of the Premier League teams accounted for. If I'm confident in my views there, I'm pretty sure that nobody dropped any further than that. I was keeping a slight view on this as it went forward. I think Burnley have had the worst time of it, and you can see they've got no value in their team whatsoever. They just don't generate the youth players that they needed to, and it's been a long time since they got out of League One. Went down there after getting promoted back up and really struggling. And they've kind of had a gentle decline. They did go down to National League North at one point, which is interesting that they fell that far. But hopefully they can start to climb back up in the new system. Now, if we just have a look at the Champions League as well, you can see Leipzig are the dominant winners here. We'll just look at the past winners from where we left off before. Leipzig were the big team. Blackburn had a good run in the Premier League. Leipzig and Bayern have been challenging the whole way. Norwich managed to win it as well. But otherwise, it's the Premier League teams and Red Bull Leipzig who are absolutely cleaning up. I assume they've won every Bundesliga. They have missed a few, but they are probably the biggest team in the world at this point. Blackburn haven't won anything for quite a while. Middlesbrough have only got 2. Leipzig are the dominant team in world football now. You can see in the seedings here, Norwich, Middlesbrough, Hertha Berlin in there, Wolfsburg, Nancy, and then Red Star FC in France doing really well. But none of the minor nations really picking up at this point. Spartak Moscow, the next highest. Rangers have probably been cleaning up in the Scottish Premiership, would be my guess. And as you can see, they've had a couple of seasons where they have missed out, and Hibs have won that title. And the next time, Hibs won it again. So Hibs seem to be really challenging there, but no major surprises otherwise. And then other teams, Hibs in there. No real surprises through that lot, to be honest. If we look at the Europa League, there might be a few surprising winners in here. You can see Blackburn winning this. United did manage to win one in 34-35. Leeds and West Brom winning. Brentford winning in 2041-42. Nancy Barnsley getting a win as well in 45-46. And Barcelona have managed to win the most recent one. Look at that team for Barcelona. They have been sensational through all of this. They've always been at the top. Look, even here, a few bounces out of the Champions League places. Their lowest and 8th place finished twice. But they have been competing all the way through, which is just spectacular, given they've been under this embargo the entire time. And they've actually won the most recent title as well, ahead of teams like Sevilla, who can actually spend money. They are still winning the title. What an absolute statement that is by Barcelona. I'm just going to flick through the recent seasons here. Sevilla have been the big team. Atletico Madrid winning very consistently. It's been a long time since Real Madrid were in there. Athletic Bilbao, Barcelona have won quite a few, but Real Madrid did win some in the mid-20s, but it's been 20 years since they managed to win a title. But that is impressive that they've been doing that. If we look at the Syria, and the past winners of this competition. Then you can see Milan been the big dominant force, Lazio in there as well. Milan really the big name team. They aren't under embargo, I'm pretty sure of that. If we look at their transfer history, yeah, they've not been under embargo this whole time. I'd expect them to be a bit more dominant really, but Fiorentina, Sampdoria and Lazio all in there making a claim for the top. If we look in League and just check in on PSG, then if we look at the league table, you can see Red Star FC have become the dominant team in this league. PSG down in 8th place and then dropping down to League 2 just to see if Monaco is still in here because they were one of the teams. No, Monaco are now gone. So let's have a quick search for AS Monaco. Oh no, they are in Liga. I've just missed that. They're in 11th place. They did get relegated once, but generally they're not doing too badly. There they are, 11th place. PSG though in 8th. Where have they been over the last 10 years or so? They've been bouncing around. Lowest place at 10th place, but otherwise they're still going for the title. They won a title as recently as 33-34. And you can see they've still got a really strong team. But Red Star FC have come through. And just looking at their landmarks, they've had a Tycoon or somebody come in. Yeah, Tycoon came in 2036. I think that's South Korean Tycoon, hopefully not North Korean Tycoon, coming in. And he's only just scaled down his funding in 2050, just as the big clubs will start coming back. So that is probably going to be it for this episode. If you have enjoyed it, drop a like on the video. Next time we will be going 20 years or so into the future to see if the big teams can come back and challenge the new dominant sides like Red Star, like Leipzig, like Blackburn and Middlesbrough, and see if they can get a hold on the Premier League again and the Champions League, which I'm pretty sure Barcelona are going to have something to say about, given they are still strong, still winning titles, even though they haven't signed a player in 40 years, 30 years at this point since they signed a player, and yet they're still winning La Liga. So a lot to look for there. Do drop a like on the video, make sure you subscribe, but until next time, see ya.